they sexualize it too much. Even though it's our cultural dance, belly
Yeah.
dance was made in Egypt. And it wasn't meant to be seen by men, actually. It was like a fertility dance for women. But unfortunately, it turned into this sexualized dance. And women who do belly dance in Egypt or belly dancers in Egypt are usually looked at as bad women.
That's odd, right? Because it's part of the culture.
Exactly.
Hello, and welcome to the Randall Osché Podcast, where we create a safe space for meaningful and thought-provoking conversations. We have long-form interviews with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, artists, and changemakers in order to deconstruct their journeys and to pass out valuable life lessons and life-changing perspectives for listeners like yourself, so that you can, as Randall says, learn their lessons without their scars. So whether you're tuning in on your daily commute or during a workout or cooking dinner, we are happy to have you join us. So take a seat, relax, grab a cup of tea, and join the conversation. Now, let's dive into this week's episode.
Heidi Emad, welcome to the show. For the people who don't know you yet,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Why don't you go ahead and take a brief moment and introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Heidi. I'm a 29-year-old Egyptian. I moved to Barcelona 3 years ago. I work as a model and a content creator.
Excellent. Thank you for taking the time and joining us today, Heidi. There's things that other people do that intrigue me. One of those things is moving countries, and especially from somebody in the United States. Yes, we're multicultural. We see a lot of people from a lot of different places, but the United States is so large. We move states, we don't move countries. And in Europe, a lot of people, you can be in one country every other day, right?
True.
For many reasons. One of them is because it's smaller. Another is because the transportation system is much better. But anyways, tell me about your journey from going from Egypt to Spain. How did that manifest?
So I've always been a traveler. I've always loved traveling. And from a really young age, I wanted to move countries. And actually, I wanted to move to New York because I've been there so many times. And I just fell in love with it. And I really wanted to go there and, like, do my thing. But my dad wouldn't let me because I was too young. And he was like worried and like how the Egyptian culture is. Women don't really leave from their homes until they're married or until they're old and independent enough. So it was like a straight no for me. So then I was going on trips with my friends, traveling with my family as well. And 1 year I decided to go to Barcelona with one of my best friends because I was learning Spanish when I was in Egypt. I wasn't working, I wasn't doing anything with my time, so I thought, why not do something useful and learn a new language? So I started learning Spanish, and during learning Spanish, we were learning about Spain, Andalusia, Barcelona. I was like, oh my god, why don't we go for the summer and, spend the hot great summer there with my best friend. So we went and I fell in love with Barcelona. I met so many people. It was a different experience for me because I could speak the language more or less. I couldn't speak Spanish very well back then, but I could communicate with people. I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with how diverse it is, how cosmopolitan it is. It has a beach, it has mountains, loads of activities. So I was like, oh my god, I want to move there, And I went back home and I was like, I need to do something to go back there. So I kept going back on vacation, basically. I didn't make a plan back then to move there. I kept going back on vacation. And then I came back one day and I was like, why don't I make a plan and actually save up money to move there and stay for a while, even if it's not for a long time, but maybe for a few months and see how it goes. And I did that. I got a job. It was a job in logistics and marketing. It was an awful job, which I hated. And I worked for 3 years to actually save up to be able to move to Barcelona for 8 months or something and see how I'm going to feel because I've always lived with my parents back in Egypt. I never lived by myself. I never shared an apartment with anyone. I was never all by myself, It was a bit scary and challenging, but I'm glad I did it, actually.
Awesome. Just taking notes. I always wonder about from a podcasting perspective. People see me looking down in the video all the time. They're like wondering what the hell he's doing. Like I'm not sleeping. I promise.
Okay.
So a bunch of questions. Quickly though, I've been to Spain a couple times, Madrid
Yeah.
and Barcelona. Love Spain. Love Madrid and Barcelona. It's vibey. It's a lot cooler than the United States for many reasons, in my opinion. But what was your favorite part about Spain and maybe in particular Barcelona? What was just, I love this place?
It's a big city. I love this city. There's a lot going on. Could never get bored. There's a beach. There's so many people from all around the world. You learn about so many cultures. You make friends from all around the world. It's very diverse. You have everything in Barcelona. It's safe as well. So like, yeah, that's my place.
Yeah, I like it too. I like that the two cities I've been to, Madrid and Barcelona. I like Madrid, but I think Barcelona has the edge because it's on the Mediterranean. I like the
Yeah,
water. But yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it's very nice. The other thing is about Europe in general, in my experience, is you have better access comparing the US to European countries.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, you have better access to better food, more accessible. Anywhere you go, you can have delicious food. That doesn't work that way here. At least not in maybe major cities like New York City, but not in your average city in the United States.
Where are you
Anyway,
based?
I live in Florida now. I live in like a beach community where there's a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
vacationers coming and going, which is
Yeah.
also by the Gulf of Mexico, which is gorgeous. But outside of going to the beach, there's not really going on here.
Yeah.
So you traveled and you took trips and you spent time in Barcelona with your friends, and you're like, I need to figure out a way to make this more permanent or semi-permanent part of my life. And then you said that you made a plan.
Yeah.
So as far as parsing out life lessons in these conversations, I think you have to have a plan. Your target was, hey, I want to move to Barcelona. That's just not going to happen itself. I have to make a plan. This is what the plan looks like. How did you come to that realization of, one, I love Barcelona. We know that already, I guess. But what was the point where you're like, oh, to make this happen, I need to make a plan, and then this is what the plan looks like?
My answer to this question, I believe, I felt like I deserve to have this life for myself, and I deserve to like experience this at some point in my life. When I was like 26 back then, I think, when I decided to move to Barcelona, I was like, I'm 26. I still live with my parents. I'm still living in this small circle of my friends and my family and the things I'm allowed to do and the things I'm not allowed to do. I was like, I deserve freedom. I deserve to live my life. I deserve to take a risk and be adventurous and explore the world and see what I really want in life. Maybe I won't like it and I'll come back. So I was really open to everything.
I love that. And the fact that I think sometimes people feel bad for saying things like, I deserve this, but you're allowed to want things. You're allowed to pursue things that make you happy. You do deserve certain things. You're not entitled to those things necessarily, but you deserve it. And if, like Heidi, have a plan, execute on the plan, and you can put yourself in a situation to experience the things that you think you deserve. How long did you work at the job? You said you got a job in logistics. So you went to
Yeah.
Barcelona. You were like, I need to come back here. You made a plan. The plan was to get a job, to save money, then to move to Barcelona. How long were you doing that job, did you say?
3 years.
Okay, I thought I heard 3 years. 3 years is a long time,
Yeah.
especially to do a job that you don't like doing. How did you keep your eye on the prize during that 3-year period and continue to save money for your move to Barcelona?
So I was still traveling when I was working there. I was just saving up a bit more on the side, and I was dancing and keeping myself busy. I was making plans and traveling inside Egypt as well because it has some beautiful spots which are like cheaper to travel abroad. And I have myself motivated. I was always looking up schools to like go and continue studying Spanish in Barcelona. And also Corona came and there was like a year you couldn't travel, you couldn't do anything. So this was also a pause for me, and it was a good time for me to save up money. I was always manifesting myself in the streets of Barcelona, having shoots and like walking around and having a job. And I was always manifesting the life that I have now.
And it happened, right?
Yeah.
As you say that back to yourself now, how does that make you feel?
Oh my God, I feel like I have goosebumps now.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. The thing I'm also intrigued about is how people's association with risk in life. And, you said that you were living with your family and then moving. It was a lot of new things for you sort of all at once, right? How were you comfortable taking the chances that you took to move to Barcelona after you had saved the money, after you had left the job in logistics? How did you get comfortable with taking that sort of risk?
I felt like anything was worth my freedom and being independent, actually. I felt like I could go through anything just to be free and do what I want and not to control my culture or family. I wanted to be free and I wanted to be myself unapologetically. I
Yeah.
wanted to pursue my dream. I felt like if I stay where I am now, my comfort zone, and trying to make everybody happy and trying to make my family happy, trying to make the people around me happy, I want to be on my deathbed and think, oh my God, what is this life that I have? I want to be grateful and I want to laugh and I want to remember all the memories that I did, even if I failed, even if I did crazy and stupid things. I want to be able to look back on that and actually be happy about it?
Yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. You said a couple times that part of the motivation was to leave Egypt to go somewhere else because culturally you didn't feel as though you could be your full self, right? Tell me a little bit more about that. What's the culture like in Egypt for, say, like 26, 29-year-old female? What would be the cultural standards there that precluded you from being the person that you are now in Barcelona?
Well, the ultimate goal for a woman in Egypt is to study, graduate, get married, have kids. That's the norm. If you try to be rebellious or you're like a rebellious bad girl. But I was a rebellious bad person. I couldn't fit in the culture. My parents were always pressuring me to oh my God, why don't you get to know somebody and get married? Look at all your friends. You're always going to weddings or your friends' weddings from high school. Na na na. It's about time. Give it a chance. And they were pressuring me as if I was made to do that. And that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very encouraging also about working, and I studied marketing in university, and they were always encouraging me about my career, no, but their ultimate goal was to get married.
So very traditional, I guess, is what we would very traditional. Study, meet somebody, get married, have kids.
Yeah.
All right. I guess after the having kids part, that's the part of the traditional, traditionalness of that. It would be the stay-at-home mom. Is that
Or get divorced.
or get divorced? Okay. Is the divorce rate high in Egypt?
Yeah. Actually, many of my friends are divorced now with kids. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think in the United States, the divorce rate's 50% or over 50% at this point.
Wow. I also feel like one of the reasons I didn't do freelance in Egypt because there's a lot of misogynism. Men are allowed to do things that women aren't. And I couldn't wear whatever I want anywhere. I could only wear the things that I want in specific places. If you to take a walk in the street and enjoy the sun and I have to be in a specific place. So I lived in a compound, a residential area, which is a compound which has a lot of green areas. I could only be able to take a walk there or a sporting club or whatever. But go outside in the streets of my country and be able to enjoy it and not worry about anybody looking at me in a certain way or harassing me or calling me. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't want to spend my whole life trying to limit myself or be scared.
Is the inability for you to walk down a city street in Egypt, is that because you didn't feel safe, or is that because you didn't want to put up with the misogyny of the men there, or both?
I think both.
Yeah.
Difficult being a woman in an Arab country or a
Yeah.
Muslim country.
What would you tell the younger version of yourself that might be listening to this, that might be in Egypt right now, that wants maybe some of the things that you have now, but doesn't know how to pursue it?
I would say I've always promised you that we're gonna do it, and we made it.
Yeah, that's incredible. So language learning. How many languages do you know?
I speak 3 languages. Arabic, my mother tongue, English. I studied English since I was, I don't know, 1 year old or something. And Spanish, I started to learn Spanish 4 years ago.
Tell me about your language learning journey with English and Spanish. Like, English started early. How and why?
Because in Egypt, they're really good Italian schools. They're either English, French, or German.
Right.
So my parents chose English. I don't know if this is like the global language, and I sometimes I even think in English, you know. I feel like it's my second mother tongue language, I would say. And Spanish, I wasn't working back then when I learned Spanish and I wanted to do something useful. And I've always loved to listen to Spanish music and reggaeton and salsa, bachata. But I really wanted to understand the lyrics, and I thought, how cool would it be to understand the lyrics of the music that I love? And yeah, I learned Spanish and I felt like it was all written out for me, you know, without me like noticing it.
4 years, are you pretty fluent? Are you fluent in Spanish?
Yeah.
What was the thing that you did when you were learning Spanish that helped you the most?
I was always watching series on Netflix.
Right.
I would put the subtitles in English at first, but then I friends put the subtitles in Spanish, so I would like read while listening, and it would help me understand things better. And learning stories and all that, I had a lot of friends who don't speak English, so I was forced to explain myself in Spanish. That was the way to practice for me as well. I was always listening to music in Spanish, looking at the lyrics. I love music and I love listening to Spanish music. So I would always want to understand the lyrics and I would memorize the lyrics, and that would help me have more vocab, you know?
How did you get comfortable having the conversations when you were forced to speak in Spanish when you moved to Barcelona?
I don't know. I feel like it just came to me. I would feel comfortable right away. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. I'm trying to learn Portuguese, and it's tough it's tough because I don't know any other languages, and I'm learning my second language. But doing it consistently helps me. But one of the things that I'm looking forward to is the time that I can be somewhere where they speak Portuguese, so I can just hear it, remember it, regurgitate it. I think that would be a significant help for me.
Practice is always super important.
Yeah, I have a tutor who like makes me speak in Portuguese when we have meetings, like when we have lessons. I hate it, but it's helpful, right? Like if you want to learn the language, you got to try to speak the language, but it's hard. Honestly, I used to date a girl who was from Portugal, and I was like, I'm gonna learn Portuguese, and then we don't date anymore. But I've invested enough time into learning it. I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
you mentioned dancing, right? Tell me about your relationship with dancing. I think that you had said when you were in Egypt, you would dance, you love salsa. I know that you do that now, but tell me about your sort of the start of your love of dancing. What draws you to it? Why do you love to do it?
I'd say it's because of my mom, actually. Since I was a little kid, my mom would teach me like belly dance moves, and you'd stand in front of the mirror and she would teach me how to move my hips and my waist and stuff. So I just fell in love with dancing and music since I was so young. And I've always been like in the end of year parties in school, performing dances. I was learning choreographies, and I started doing salsa in Egypt. When I was in Egypt, I feel like dancing is the only thing that got me through those 3 years where they're having this office job before I moved. And I just fell in love with Latin dancing and belly dance. I love belly dance as well, but unfortunately Egypt is very like looked down upon, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask, based on our previous conversation about the difference of culture, how the dancing was received in Egypt. So not good, right? From your standpoint.
It's not good.
Yeah.
They sexualize it too much. You know, even though it's our cultural dance, you know, belly dance was made in Egypt and it wasn't meant to be seen by men, actually. It was like a fertility dance for women. But unfortunately, it turned into this sexualized dance. And women who do belly dance in Egypt or belly dancers in Egypt are usually looked at as bad women.
That's odd, right? Because it's part of the culture.
Exactly.
And even if it is over-sexualized, I guess I'm making an assumption that because it is over-sexualized, people like it. But people over-sexualize it, which means they like it, but then they also look down upon it, right? So that's...
They judge women big time. Like,
yeah, that's the, I guess, hypocrisy, right?
Definitely.
Like they want to see it because they've over-sexualized this thing, which I'm assuming that means they want to see it, but at the same time, they look down upon the people doing the dancing, right?
Exactly.
So Thank you for sharing your love of dancing and learning it from your mom. But you teach dancing too. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In Barcelona? Tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about that.
I teach belly dance, and I always like even of the history of belly dance, and I always like to go deep into that stuff. If someone has the idea about belly dance is just like a sexual dance where women move their hips and that's it, I always try to make it more spiritual and make it like as a way for them to connect with their bodies and feel their feminine energy and prepare for menstruation and so many other stuff. It's not just a dance; it's like meditation.
I love that. Somebody wanted to connect with you to learn how to belly dance in Barcelona or any of the other dancing that you teach. Where can they find you or connect with you?
You could reach me on Instagram,
What's your handle on Instagram? We'll put it in the show notes, but just if anybody's listening,
Heidi's Jungle.
Heidi's Jungle. How did you I've known that's what your Instagram handle is, but how did you arrive at Heidi's Jungle?
Because when I first started my Instagram, I was making like curly hair tips, how to like style your curly hair. So it was all about my hair when I was prepped and I started creating content. And
Nice.
then I started feeling like, oh my god, my life is a jungle actually. So I'll just keep it that way. It's my hair and my
Yeah.
life.
I think it suits you. I think it suits you.
Let's take a quick break from today's episode. If you're enjoying the conversation, please take a moment to look us up. You can find Randall on Instagram at Randall Osché, that's spelled at RANDALLOSCHE. And you can catch the show notes and other resources at randallosche.com. And now back to the episode.
So I saw on Instagram that you just came out in a digital magazine. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that is, that project, and maybe where people can go find it.
So yeah, Figana magazine reached out to me and they felt like my story would be inspirational to other people to read it and learn about me and learn about my life lessons and all that. So you can find that link in my bio to read my magazine and learn about everything that is in my life, my struggle, how me, when I grew up, how I moved, everything.
Is that publication just about you, or is it other people, other stories, or is that your
Oh,
story?
it's just about me.
I love that. For listeners, we'll include that link in the show notes. I'll get it from Heidi, but if you want to go to her Instagram and find the link. I think that we're doing a great job, Heidi. I keep looking at the notes from your bio of what we covered, and we're getting through it without having to pay much attention to it.
Yeah,
All right. So now, how long have you been in Barcelona?
3 years.
3 years. And you model, teach dancing, and a full-time content creator. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Which one of those three is your favorite?
I feel like I have a part of me in all three because content creation gives me the chance to express and act because I've always wanted to be an actress. I believe I'm gonna make it one day. So that content part gives me the freedom to do that. Modeling allows me to express myself also. And dancing is just, it makes me feel alive. It takes my head off of any anxiety or from everything. Dancing it's just life for me, if you will.
Yeah. What do you tell people, or what would you tell somebody? If you look online, if you Google or YouTube how to start a business or even create content, everybody would say, most people, the general rule of thumb is you have to niche down, do one thing, focus on one thing. But, people are multifaceted. You're allowed to have different interests and you're allowed to pursue different interests. And you're pursuing three things. They're all probably a creative outlet, right? I think they would fall in that category. But what would you say if somebody gave you some feedback and said, hey, you need to niche down, you need to focus on one of those three things? What would your retort be to them?
I feel like I wouldn't be complete without like one thing apart from the other. I feel like all of those things complete who I am and my personality and what I love to do. And I feel like I can balance it out quite well, actually.
Yeah. So two of the three things feed into the others, right? So you might not be as good or as passionate about dancing if you weren't creating content, or the same with modeling, right? All three of those make the other two, or any one of those make the other two increase your passion or your love of doing them, right?
Exactly. I also love singing.
Oh, yeah? I'll add that to the
That's-
list. Do you do that at all, or are you just waiting for your opportunity to do that?
I guess I'm just waiting for my opportunity. I'm planning this project as well. And I've always wanted to sing, always. And I sing sometimes, thinking a bit insecure about it. But then I was like, now is the time. It's now or never.
Tell me about the project.
So I'm gonna sing this song with Carlos, my fiance, and this is like a guitar. I'm gonna record it in a cave in Andalusia. That's gonna be like a flamenco Egyptian fusion.
I love that. I love that. I'm looking forward to that coming out. Is it going to be, what's the plan? Audio, video? Where can people find that when it comes out?
We're still not
Good
sure.
for
We're
you.
trying to like brainstorm everything right now.
Yeah, I love it.
So
I
yeah,
love a good project. So your fiance is Carlos, right?
yeah.
So I know when we were speaking earlier, you had actually moved from Barcelona to another part of Spain, and that's where you met him. You didn't, of course, move from Barcelona. I forget the other city that you moved to. So tell me about why you made that move, because the question I had there was, again, you picked up and you left Egypt to go to Barcelona, and then you left Barcelona and you went to this other part of Spain for a few months to learn dancing. Like, tell me about that transition as well.
Yeah. So I went on 2 trips to Andalusia. Always been in love with flamenco since I lived in Egypt. I would always listen to flamenco songs and feel things inside me. I would get really moved. I would want to cry. I would be like really, really moved by the voices of the singers, of how they sing, how super similar to Egyptian music and how it's super passionate and intense. And one of my roommates was from Granada, a city in Andalusia. And she's like, oh my God, I feel like you have a gypsy soul, like the Quintanas of, you need to go to Andalusia, you're gonna fall in love because Andalusia and todo about flamenco, like the cultural music of Andalusia. So I decided to go on a solo trip to Andalusia, and to Granada. I fell in love with everything. I would go to live flamenco shows, I go to flamenco bars, and always met a lot of people there. And then I went to Sevilla. I also like Sevilla very much. I went to Malaga as well. And I came back to Barcelona. I was super happy. I said, it's not going to be my last time. I'm going to go back for sure. So one of my best friends came to visit me from Egypt, and she's like, let's do something like, I'm going to come to Barcelona, but let's like go to another place in Spain where we could discover stories beyond. Let's go to Andalusia. So I took her to Granada, I took her to Sevilla. I went to Cadiz right after. And on this trip, I decided I'm gonna move to Andalusia for sure because I was obsessed with flamenco at this point. Obsessed with the people there. People there are super warm. They're very, very welcoming. They're very nice. They're very generous. And they actually remind me of my people. I felt like I'm home in Andalusia. So I was like, okay, when I move there, I'm gonna learn flamenco. I'm gonna learn about this culture. I'm gonna meet Andalusian people. And I just packed my things, found me an apartment in Cali by myself. So it's so much cheaper than to rent an apartment and to like live. It's so much cheaper. Nothing compared to Barcelona. That's perfect. And I'm going. I didn't until how I met Fabulous.
So one of the things, I read a book once, it was called Nomad Capitalist, and the basic premise of the book, for different reasons, is to go to where you're treated best, right? A lot of people grow up in a certain city or in a certain country and they feel as though they're fenced in, and this is just life. Like, I live here because my family's here, I live here because this is where I was born or where I was raised. But what I appreciate a lot about your story is that you've been to other places and then you've recognized that this place aligns with who I am as a person, and I need to make it happen to go to where I'm treated best and to go where it aligns. And speaking to you, I want to say it aligns with your soul. You're like, oh, this place aligns with my soul. I want to be here. I think it's super important to, people thinking out there, I need XYZ to move, or I can't move, or I have to be here close to my family. Like, we all want that, but you only have so many years on this planet. Make the most of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt like it was calling for me. I felt like, oh my God, I've become so overwhelmed with Barcelona. I'm done with Barcelona. I got so bored of everything. I need to move to Andalusia right now.
Yeah, it sounds fitting. So the other thing that we had mentioned before we started recording is sort of your routines and some of the things I think that I would call it a recipe for yourself, right? So you had mentioned that you love meditating, doing affirmations, journaling, reading like self-help books.
Yeah.
So How did you get started down? I don't know if we want to call that personal development or just maybe learning about yourself, but how did you get started going down that path?
I actually started going on that path when I was in Egypt. I was super depressed. I wasn't working. I really wanted to move. That's when my dad told me no about moving to New York. I felt like I was having depression, anxiety, insomnia, everything. So I would buy books, read books, learn about meditation. I remember the first time I meditated ever was like 1 minute or 2 minutes. I started with the really, really short timings until I did 30 minutes. And I felt like the difference. I felt like it helped calm me. It helped change who I am, change the way I think. I would read books on the way, like on an airplane going somewhere. I would still have anxiety, so I would read some books. I try to like connect my breath to my body, and it really, really helped me. And then when I learned about manifestation, literally changed my life.
What are some of your favorite books in that genre?
I remember the name of Sandy. There's this one book that I think it was one of the first books that I read. Art of Not Giving a Fuck, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Manson, I think. I think it's the
This sort
subtle
of,
art of not giving a fuck.
yeah,
Yeah.
that book. And there's another book that's also called Meditation by Osho. And I would listen to a lot of podcasts as well. I love Jay Shetty, for example. I also signed up to his Genius community. So I would have full access to all of his like, classes, teaching about different things every week. You can have like an online meeting weekly, speak about things, we can ask him things.
What about journaling? I know you journal as well. What's your journaling practice look like?
I would just write everything I feel on paper. I would just try to get that energy out on paper. And I feel like with first weekday, that's when I feel like something that's really like getting to me or giving me major anxiety. I don't like to sleep with that feels. I like to get it out on paper. And I would just write however I feel, curse, say things, speak about anything, literally. And I feel like one day people are gonna look at it and write my life story.
Yeah, I journal as well. I think journaling is part of my recipe. And I got started journaling because I read Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans book. And Tools of Titans is about, so Tim Ferriss has a podcast. He interviews a lot of high performers, high achievers. And then based off of his podcast, he wrote a book. And in the book, it's divided into 3 sections: healthy, wealthy, and wise. And he condensed each of his interviews into 2 pages. And basically, it's like what their recipes for success were. What pieces of information did they give that were valuable? And then how did they get to the position to be high achievers, to be on a Tim Ferriss podcast? And then what Tim Ferriss did for his readers is drew parallels between all of these high achievers. And there was consistent things that all of them did, right? Maybe some of them read similar books, or maybe some of them watched similar documentaries. Maybe all of them had a morning routine. I think all of them worked out in some form or fashion. One of the things that really resonated with me was journaling. I wasn't journaling at the time, and then I started journaling. Feels odd to say it, but it changed my life. It's made me a more positive person. It's helped me stay focused. It's helped me achieve goals. It really keeps me on track with the things I tell myself that I want to do. I feel as though putting pen to paper, it's like magic happens there. The energy, I think you're influencing me. I feel like I'm starting to talk like you now. The energy, the energy from like my anxiety or frustration or even excitement comes through the pen to the journal. And then like after I journal, I feel better. When I'm really stressed out and I go to the gym, when I'm done working out, I feel less pressure. And I feel the same way with journaling. It's like an outlet, I guess, I suppose.
You're also able to organize your thoughts, understand your thoughts, basically.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. Anybody out there that thinks we're nerds for journaling, try it once. You see how you like it. So in preparing for the recording, one of the things that you had mentioned to me is you want to inspire women to be able to break free and be themselves with no fear. I think we touched on a little bit of why that's important to you. But if, any women are listening to this and your story resonates with them, what advice, guidance, or wisdom or support could you offer them to maybe take that first step and, breaking free and being their full selves?
Have no fear of judgment. Take the risk. and follow your heart.
Yeah. What if there happened to be in a culture where, like you were in Egypt, where maybe it's not as easy just to have no fear, or it's just not as easy to saying it is right. I know you know this, but saying it's much easier than executing on it.
Sure.
But if you're not in an area where that's going to be welcomed with open arms, what would you advise them how to navigate that situation?
I would say find the right kind of people where you could be yourself free. When I was in Egypt, I had my circle of friends and circle of people where I could be myself authentically, you know? But I felt like I was also a bit restricted. I wanted to be myself everywhere and anywhere, you know? I would say if you can't move right now or if you're not able to plan something like that, just find the right people and it's gonna be a way for you to express yourself and be free and let go of that restricting energy. Also journal, find a way of expression that allows you to be you, like dancing, singing, art, painting, running, sports, it could be anything.
One of the things I suppose from that you did while you were in Egypt is you found your people that you could be yourself around, and that
Of
was
course.
like a baby step. But then to really be able to be your true self, you had to move, right? You had to go to where you were treated best, a place that resonated with who you are as a person. So I
Yeah.
suppose that could be the framework of which somebody can think through is maybe I don't have the ability to be my authentic self 100% due to environmental circumstances, but find people in that current environment who you can be your full self around, and then maybe take some actions, create a plan like Heidi did, and go to a place that you're treated the way you want to be treated, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What's one of the most pivotal moments of your life or your career?
I would say when I started being independent, when I started living by myself, and I started feeling the responsibility of taking care of myself and making my own money and being responsible basically for everything. Like I am the owner of my life. This realization changed me, changed who I am and changed the way I think, the way I act, the way I behave, the people I let into my life, my routines even, the ways I take care of my health, everything.
When was the moment in your story where you started to take complete responsibility for who you are and how you move through the world?
The very exact day I left Egypt.
Okay. I love that. I think success is a broad term, and I think success looks different for different people. But when you think of the term for success as it would apply to your life, your career, your business, your singing, songwriting, or all of it, what does success look like to you?
I would say success would be first peace of mind, health, financial abundance. For me, that's success.
Yeah, I love that. I guess another one of the themes of the podcast, I think people associate success and think of it like money, fame, etc. But if you take time to check in with yourself, maybe journal on it, like what it actually means to you, I think you can have a better relationship with what success is. I think that can really help ground people and perhaps maybe make things that seem unattainable obtainable once you start to really understand what it is that you want to achieve and what's going to make you the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and gratitude to actually be grateful for every little thing you have. And that way you attract more good things.
The journaling that I do, the format is, it always starts with, I guess it's like a gratitude journal in the morning. And I always start with 3 things at least that I'm grateful for. They don't have to be monumental things. Like I live in Florida, so we get a lot of sunshine here. And I love sunshine because it makes me feel great. So it's just like, I'm grateful for these blue skies and the sunshine. And it's a good moment to check in with myself of like, yeah, I might want more and that's fine, but let's appreciate the things that we do have.
Yeah, the small thing.
Yeah. On the flip side, what's one of your favorite failures and what did you learn from it?
My favorite failures. I was engaged back then when I was in Egypt. I was really young. I was in the first year of university. And I met this guy when I was in high school. Thought I was in love. Thought he was the one. Got engaged to him. And then we were engaged for about 2.5 years. Didn't work out. Family issues. And when we broke up and we ended things, I was destroyed. Literally. Like, I have planned my whole life with that guy. You know, we were looking at places where to live, apartments, same with the trends, everything. And actually now I feel super grateful it didn't work out because there I am now. I'm so glad it didn't work out. And I would say the game for all my past relationships, actually.
Yeah, I think past relationships give you the opportunity. Of course, you want relationships to work out when you're in them, but I think they inform you of like the type of relationship that you want to have, especially if you're introspective or I guess reflective of like, why didn't this work out? Is this not the type of person I want to be with? Did they not support me the way that I wanted to support them? Did I not support them the way I should have been supporting them? But if you're open to it, I think that can better inform how you move forward in the world. So I tend to look at, I guess I don't even necessarily like to use the terminology failures, but I guess in the moment it can be a failure, but I think it's always an opportunity, right? Like a breakup is an opportunity to meet your potential husband, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like everything happens for our greatest good. We might not realize it now, but we should trust that it happens for our greatest good. We should trust the process. If it didn't happen, it means it was best for us. If something greater is gonna happen.
I love that. And we had covered this earlier, but one of my biggest motivations for this is advice for my younger self almost, right? Like you have information that would better inform the younger version of you, right? And I'm not saying that you regret anything or even me, but because we've learned and we've grown from those opportunities. But I think of it as a golden tablet. Like if I had a golden tablet to give my younger self, what would be in that golden tablet? So if you could give a golden tablet to your younger self of the advice, guidance, and wisdom that you've learned so far in life, what would be some of the key pieces in that golden tablet to the younger version of you?
I would tell her to not be scared. I would tell her, don't find your people, your love. The third thing would be just follow your heart and trust the process and don't stress about it too much. Don't take it too seriously.
I love that. For the people listening, where can they find you again?
I'm on Instagram as Heidi Emad, on TikTok as well.
Thank you. So Heidi Emad, thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
story.
you, Randall.
You're absolutely welcome.
And that's it for today's conversation here on the Randall Osché Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed recording it. Many, many thanks to our guests today for sharing their knowledge, their experience, and their life lessons. If you found today's conversation insightful, interesting, inspiring, please join our growing community by subscribing to the Randall Osché Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and never ever miss another episode. We'd love to hear your feedback, so keep the community alive by sharing your takeaways from today's episode and use the hashtag Randall Osché Podcast. Your feedback and interaction fuels our continued efforts to build a safe space for meaningful, long-form conversations. So thank you so much for the support. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep the conversation going.